Congresswoman Renee Ellmers is a nurse, a mother, a small business owner, a wife. They live in Harnett County. Her husband Brent, they moved to North Carolina after the birth of their son Ben. But what I was impressed with is whenever I was looking at her, that she accepted our invitation and she wanted to come. The thing that I'm absolutely impressed about is that she has been honored to serve as the chairwoman of the Republican Women Policy Committee, a caucus comprised of 23 female Republican women, and she steers that committee towards success. She helps to unify their voices and highlight the leading roles and accomplishment of the women serving the United States House of Representatives. And so for someone that was elected in office in 2010 that is already in a position where she's chairing a committee with her peers, it's obvious that she has the leadership skills that we're looking for. And so when we decided we wanted to do this event, the first thing we decided last year when we met in our inaugural event is that we simply said, what is the mission? We want to develop leaders. And so everyone that's in this room, you've been identified as being a leader amongst your peers, at your school, and many other situations and programs. So because of that, we brought you the best. So please take time and write notes, ask questions, and speak to Congresswoman Renee Ellmers. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm so happy to be here. Okay, I want to see a show of hands. How many people think that this governor's mansion is absolutely awesome? How many of you would love to live here someday? I sure would. And that's not on the political line. I just think it's an awesome, gorgeous, beautiful home. So listen, thank you all for coming together. And in many ways, I kind of feel like I'm preaching to the choir here because you've already identified yourselves as leaders. And that isn't your choice. That's the choice of your cohorts, your friends, your community have already identified yourself. So you've already singled yourselves out as someone who wants to move forward and create change. And you see an issue and you want to take it on and you want to deal with it. And that's what we have got to do in this country. We've got to help young women to identify their strengths and what they can do to make a difference. And I'll just tell you a little bit about what happened with me and how I ended up being a member of Congress. And then I do want to open it up for questions because I think sometimes the best way we come up with solutions to things is if we all kind of, put ourselves aside. And I don't take myself very, very seriously. I take the job very seriously. But you got to have a sense of humor with yourself, right? And sometimes that means you've got to look at yourself and say, hey, I do that really well, or boy, I don't do that very well, but I know a friend who does, and I'm going to learn from her, right? So what do we need to do? We need to empower each other. I think that's the first thing that as women, we have got to learn to do in a better way. That we can't look at each other and say, wow, she's really pretty, she's got on a really cute outfit today, I'm kind of jealous, I'm not maybe going to be so nice to her. I think what we have to do is we have to overcome that. We have to compliment each other. We have to tell each other how awesome we are and how much we appreciate our friends and the things that they do. And we need to learn from each other, and we need to, again, empower each other to do more. There are times when I'm not having a very good day, but maybe that one little comment that one of my friends makes turns my day around and I end up with a really good day. There's not a day that goes by that I don't learn something. I'm 51 years old. I've done a lot of learning. 51 is kind of old now these days, but I look at myself as very young because emotionally I'm very immature. So I look at myself and think really inside I'm only about 18. But I just want to tell you, so I'm 51. I grew up in Michigan. I didn't grow up in North Carolina. I grew up in a family. My parents didn't go to college. They were kind of blue collar. It was kind of a low income area. We lived in a great house. My parents were faith-filled. I grew up as a Catholic. I am a Catholic. And we just looked at things like, you work every day and you do the right thing and you go to church on Sunday and life is good. But I didn't necessarily have parents that saw college as a path for me. They didn't necessarily, they weren't against it, but it just wasn't something that they were familiar with. So I had to put myself through college. I have two brothers. I'm the middle child. I'm the only girl. So grew up in between two brothers. They did not go to college. I'm first generation college educated in my family. I wanted to become a nurse. I always wanted to become a mom, but I knew that would eventually happen. I wanted to help people. So I decided I wanted to be a nurse. Well, it took me about 8 years to get my nursing degree because I had to work, for a long time. And then finally I ended up in school. I got my bachelor's degree. I got all that in Michigan. When I went to work, I worked as a surgical intensive care nurse, and that's where I met my husband. My husband's actually from Indiana, and he came to Michigan to do his residency. So we met, we fell in love, we got married. And then we ended up moving to Louisville, Kentucky for a couple of years, and he practiced in southern Indiana in his hometown. But that went okay for a while, and we needed to make a change. And oddly enough, my brother-in-law moved to North Carolina, so we came to visit. Well, we fell in love with North Carolina. And we knew that this was the place that we wanted to raise our son, Ben. And Ben is, I know the ages are varying a little bit here, he's 20 years old now. And so we've been in North Carolina for a really long time. We became part of our community in Dunn. I joined up with the Chamber of Commerce, got active in our church. We started to help in our own community because we felt that was really, really important. But clearly, early on, I recognized that there were issues that I wanted to change about the Dunn area. I wanted to help bring people together. I wanted other people to come to Dunn and see what a great community we had. So I got involved that way, and that really kind of led me on the path. Then a couple years later, there were some issues that came up at the national level that affected healthcare. And as a nurse, I felt very strongly that I needed to be a voice for healthcare, that I knew that healthcare was going to change in this country and it was going to affect every family. So I decided to run for office. I'd never run for anything in my entire life. I'd never even run for student council when I was in school. I didn't have the confidence in myself to do it. But when I saw this as an issue, I decided I needed to do it, and I never looked back. I never thought for 1 minute that I wouldn't win the election. I never thought for 1 minute that we wouldn't be successful. I believed in the mission that I had taken on for myself. And what do? You put together a team of people, right? You can't do it by yourself. You got to have friends who are coming together to help you. So you put together trusted friends that you know are good workers. And you can identify that because you're leaders yourselves. So you know what needs to be done. So many times people see an issue that needs to be dealt with. Maybe it's a problem, maybe it's a good thing. But rather than themselves jumping into it, they just sit back and say, somebody else will take care of it. It'll get fixed eventually. That you cannot make. You cannot make that decision. You cannot make that decision because it's a bad one. When you see a situation that needs to be changed, when you think that there's something that needs to be dealt with, that's when you have to say to yourself, it's got to be me to do it. And I'll be honest with you and tell you, I ran for office because I was very concerned about the issue. But I was someone that didn't have the confidence within myself. I was the one who was saying, hey, who are we going to elect to go to Washington and fix this problem? Who are we going to elect? I know a woman could do this, but I never thought it was me. And it was a friend of mine who looked at me and said, Renee, you're a mom, you're a nurse, you know the issues, why don't you run for office? And I went, stop for a moment, and I thought, I'll be darned. I do need to be the one to run for this position. I can deal with all those things, but I didn't even identify it myself. So that's one of the messages that I have for you. Don't ever think that you are not the person that should be the one to go forward to make a change. Always believe in yourself. Believe what you can do. Put together a team to help you, but identify yourself as that person. Don't let someone else go forward if you're the one that identifies it. Have faith and confidence within yourself. Because if you came up with that idea, if you know that that's an issue that needs to be dealt with, then you should be the one to do so. So here I am. I just was elected into my 3rd term. I was elected in 2010, and now this is, again, my 3rd term representing District 2. And while I've been in Washington, again, I saw an issue that needed to be dealt with. We only have 23 women in our Republican conference. That's only 8% of the Republicans that are in the House of Representatives. There are only about 19% altogether when you take all the Republicans and all the Democrats in the House. That's not a very big number when you consider that we're the majority of the population. We should have more numbers of women in Congress. I know for a fact that when women are at the table making decisions, we all make better decisions because we see things that others do not. And that's not anything negative, that's a very good thing, and we need to embrace it and identify it. We need to know what our strengths are as women. We all think we need it all, we all want to go to school, we all want to get a career, we want to have children, we want to get married, all of these things, and many times we say, how can we have it all? How can we do all that and do everything really, really well? I'm here to tell you, you can. And there are going to be some things that maybe you don't do so well, but that's okay. Because there are other things that you will master. You can have it all. Sometimes things don't go the way we want them to. Sometimes things happen and maybe you're in school and you're not doing very well. Maybe you have a boyfriend and your boyfriend breaks up with you. Maybe things just don't seem to happen the way that you think they should. You have to embrace that. You have to identify it. And you have to move on. Failure is only failure when you stop trying. If you are not doing well at something, then put yourself into it. Don't stop. Don't pull back. Don't walk away. Keep on trying. You may have to do it differently. I believe personally that God has a plan for all of us. And it is our job to find what that plan is. Sometimes we're not on the path that God wants us to be on. Believe me, He will get you back on that path. But you gotta ask. You gotta say, hey, okay, God, this isn't working. Where am I going? What do you want from me? And you will get there. Again, failure is only failure when you give up. You can't ever give up. You gotta keep trying. You gotta keep at it. Whether it's school, whether it's personal life, maybe it's your parents. It could be anything. Maybe you've been trying at something. Maybe you're trying to achieve a goal and it just doesn't seem like you're getting there. You gotta keep trying. Nobody should hold you back. Believe me, in the end, you figure it out and you know why God had you on that path. So I just want to finish by saying again how honored I am to be here with you, because this is exactly what I should be doing. And when I say when God puts you on a path, this is what's falling into place for me. To be able to be a voice for other women, to be able to help empower women, to be able to go to Washington, when I had only been to Washington maybe one other time prior to going and getting elected, to help women. We've passed legislation with human trafficking. We've worked on issues in health for women. There are so many things that we've done to empower women. And we look at these issues and say, how can we help every American family? Because we know that women, moms in the family, are taking so many issues and having to deal with them. So again, I thank you for caring. I thank you for being here, because you obviously feel this is important. And that is just going to move you so far. And I'm just so proud of all of you for recognizing the importance of working together as young women, but to come up with solutions in your personal lives, but that also affect your communities. So with that, if you have any questions, I am happy to answer anything for you. Yes?
My name is Taffy Lagarde. I'm in 10th grade at the Women's Leadership Academy. And my question is, what was one of your most memorable moments of being a representative for the school?
Oh, thank you. Yes. Well, I mentioned that we had legislation regarding human trafficking. Now, for many of you, and you may have talked about it here, I know that there's some of the initiatives that are taking place here in the state right now, but many of our communities have faith-based organizations. Our churches and our faith-based organizations are working on this issue. Because if you can believe it or not, there are women and children and men who are being forced into situations and held essentially against their will, and forced into labor, sexual assault, sex trafficking, all of these things, and they're happening in our own communities. Well, I learned about it a couple of years ago, and I really was kind of shocked in a way, because I just, whenever I'd heard about human trafficking, I always thought it was in another country somewhere. In a developing country, that's where human trafficking took place. I was shocked to find out it was happening in our own communities. So one of the things that I worked on, and I was able to be part of this, there were many bills in human trafficking, some dealing with law enforcement, some dealing with community efforts. But with my nursing background, I knew that if a person who's being trafficked ends up in an emergency room somewhere, that person who's taking care of them, that doctor, that nurse, or other healthcare professional, may not be able to identify the fact that that person's being trafficked. So one of the things that we did, we found that out. We found out that women, men who are being sexually trafficked end up in the same emergency rooms that the rest of us go to. And there are certain signs and symptoms that they show that can be identified. And that may be the only outside contact that victim has. So it is up to us in the healthcare profession to identify it and intervene. So that was my legislation that went forward. And it was passed in the House of Representatives, it went on to the Senate, and it was signed into law by the President. So now it's law that we have to incorporate these things into medical school, nursing school, dental school, social work. So this is something that will change significantly. So that is one of my proudest moments, was to have actually put a piece of legislation forward that actually helps and improves lives, gets someone who's in a situation where they are helpless and a victim, and moving them forward into prosperity. And to have it become law was pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yes.
My name is Mckoy, and I'm a fourth grader at Raleigh Charter. So I know a lot of women in leadership positions, and actually a lot of other careers, get scrutinized for like really stupid things, like what they wear or being too emotional. And I was just wondering if you've experienced that and how you've dealt with it.
Oh, absolutely. So this is part of the downfall of being a woman and being someone, especially that, I certainly am on TV, I have pictures taken all the time. Let me tell you, it's one of those things you have to learn to be able to, again, have a good sense of humor about. As women, especially someone who's in politics, if you have a bad hair day, believe me, that's the picture that shows up week after week after week. So everything we do, we've got to make sure that we look good, that we've done our hair. Like, what was the first thing I said, Pat, when we left my house this morning? I went, oh God, I walked outside, I went, this is not a good hair day. So, those are the things that we have to be cognizant of. We need to do the best job we can to put our best face forward, because unfortunately, what ends up happening for us as women, they look at you, but they're not necessarily hearing what you have to say, and they're not recognizing that you're listening, but they have that one picture of you, and that's what gets talked about. It's unfortunately part of the downfall of what we do, but it does happen a lot, and that's one of the things that I want to fix over time. The stronger the voice is for women, and women supporting each other, the less of that we'll see. Great question, though.
Hi, my name is Lisa Johnson. I'm from Richmond, North Carolina, and I just wanted to ask you for some advice. As a woman wanting to go into politics, wanting to be in Congress, what would you recommend me to start? And also, how do you feel about the lack of women in?
Oh, well, the lack of women, we got to change, first of all. But, so the question was, if you're someone who's looking at going into government or politics, where do you get started? What do you do? Well, as I told you, my situation's a little different because I really didn't ever see that as a career path for myself. I thought I was going to be a nurse and a mom for the rest of my life, and life was going to be good, and I never thought about politics. But when I saw the need, that's when I went forward. But if you're someone who's considering elected office, I would start at the community level and kind of work my way up. I didn't do that, so I don't know what it's like. Being part of the Dunn community, I was very active on a lot of the issues, and that's certainly a path as well. But I think it would be helpful because we need good women who care about things in every level, whether it's the school board, whether it's the city council, whether it's the county government, the state government, and the federal government. So any level that you can, that you feel you see yourself playing is the area that you should start at, and you will learn and you will grow from that. But I do believe we need more women because, again, we know that women make really good decisions. And many times, you know, I visit a lot of businesses. I go to different facilities, and behind the scenes, I see women working. Or whether it's in politics. You know, at the local Republican Party headquarters, women are the ones on the phone making phone calls and asking for the donations and working hard. But then when you go into the boardroom, there's maybe one, maybe two. We've got to change that. We need women at the decision-making level. And that's what I want to change as well. Great question. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Rosalind Wilkins, and I go to Westboro High School in Statesville, North Carolina. And I was wondering, what branch of nursing did you start out in?
I started out in surgical intensive care, and basically that means that if you've had surgery, you're really super sick, and you end up in the unit where they got all the monitors and the ventilators and things like that, that's where I worked. It was very exciting, and my days, I worked 12-hour days. Our shifts were 12 hours. And I loved it because I knew I was really helping. And I kind of get that same feeling from the job that I do now. And it was an easy transition for me from nursing to going into Congress because when you're a nurse, you've got to listen. You've got to listen. You can't just listen to what's being said. You've got to hear what isn't being said as well. And I try to bring that to my job every day as well because I believe that's one of the things that we need to do a much better job of listening rather than just talking.
The Congressman is going to stay here until 2 o'clock, and so any additional questions you have, if you would save those for her, we really want her to be a part of us creating an advisory committee, and then we've got a couple of other things we'd like to address as well. But would you give her a hand and thank her for coming? And one of the things we'd like to do is to, we have a poster. And it is signed, and it's Women and Girls Initiative Take Courage, hashtag Take Courage North Carolina. And each of you will get one of those as well. And so thank you so much. And I would like to give this to you.
Oh, thank you so much.
On behalf of the council. And Mama Paul, will you come up as well? Molly exemplifies exactly what we're trying to do here. And so what I found over the years is that her life, her background might be entirely different from many of your backgrounds. But if you've got such a burning and a passion within you, you don't care. And I was the same way. And so unfortunately, some of us accomplish great things at 16. And then some of us accomplish great things at 60. And so one of the things that I wanted to share with you, my own background, is that I saw you so many years before you ever got here. I had a different background, varying background as a young girl, but I always said I know that even though there was not anyone there to help and assist me to move forward in the trajectory that I had established for myself, all the dreams and things, but I knew that if I ever got in a position of authority, I would do that for you. So I saw you a long, long time ago, and to see all of you here today, being a part of this great meeting, I've accomplished that goal, and I'm forever grateful for you not only saying you wanted to come, but for showing up. And so because of that, we've spread a wonderful table. Congresswoman Renee Ellmers and Molly Paul. So you get a chance to see what a 16-year-old who has a burning passion to do something great. And for that, we honor her today with our own poster, Women and Girls Initiative. Thank you. So Molly's going to be here to change the whole schedule just so she can be here to answer any questions or concerns you may have. And Karika Yarborough-Smith is going to come here. And let me tell you about Karika. And the two of you guys need to meet, so you can stand right here beside. Whenever Congresswoman Renee Ellmers talks about human trafficking, the reason that Karika is here, as I said before, her role really is not what she's doing, but her major role is human trafficking. She's renowned all over the state of North Carolina. She travels all over the United States speaking on human trafficking issues and concerns. She works with police officers, rescue, all types of situations in order to make sure that the young girls and the young guys, unfortunately, are safe and they're in shelters. And so we're right in the middle of this. We're applying for a grant today. And so we just received funding for another project so we can move forward with human trafficking. So if you've never heard of it, Google it. If you're interested in it as a project, it's a new career. Unfortunately, it's not a career that you're interested in, but it's a magnificent career, particularly if you're interested in nursing. Why? Because we need help. And so it's your generation that's going to help us reduce our numbers from being 8 in the country to possibly never even North Carolina ever being mentioned again about human trafficking, because we have Congresswoman Renee Ellmers here and a Karika Yarborough-Smith to help us. Thank you so much.
Say thank you for all that you've done federally and on a state level as well.
Well, thank you, and this is our beginning. We have more coming. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So I'm going to ask you to do us a favor. Sure. We have a raffle item. So we had Bailey's Jewelry nicely donated an item to us. And so everyone, if you have your raffle tickets, look in the back of your name tag. You should have a raffle ticket. And so I'm going to ask the Congresswoman to pick a ticket.
Oh wow, this is a lot of pressure on me. This is a lot of pressure on me. Okay. Oh Lord, and I'm. Pat, do you have other way? I can't read it.
Can we read it?
Yes, because I don't have my glasses. I
don't
have
have mine.
51.
Do it. Let's see. 4919033. Does anybody have it? Do I need to read it one more time? 4919033. People still looking good. Have to have your tickets out.
I was gonna say, where's that look?
Are we gonna try again? If not, okay.
I don't want anybody to miss out on this.
I know. You want to give it away while you're
Okay. 4919081. I guess you gotta keep going.
Wow. Okay. Try one more time.
All right. 3 times the charm. 4919007. Someone's got to have their stuff.
Do you have it? Yay!
07.
Come on here.
Awesome.
Come on up here.
Wait. Okay.
Woo! What's your name? Taylor. Where are you from? Wilson. And how old are you? 16. Well, congratulations. You just won some jewelry. All right, and so guys, really right now, we have a few minutes before we move into our evaluations and things, but we wanted you, if you got a chance to get started on your scavenger hunt, hopefully you started on it, but we want you to take time to really look at it. Find someone in the room who is from a different region than you, and try to not only, you have space in there to write down their information, their contact information. You can even go out, if there's a woman leader that you want to meet, go out there and meet that leader and get her contact information, okay? So we're going to do that for a few minutes.